All right. Anyway, so this has been deemed a conspiracy theory. Like my TikTok and just my content is not only being suppressed, but it's being like funneled to the conspiracy theory wing of these platforms. Um, they're like, what this guy is a conspiracy theorist. I'll say it again. I went to school to study this stuff. I read about it every day. I still have my books about it. This is Necessary Illusions by Noam Chomsky. This is Thinking Fast and Slow, How People Conceive of the World Around Them by Daniel Kahneman. This is Poverty and Power, a book about wealth and the social implications of it in the United States by Edward Ross or Royce. This is The Golden Rule, the investment theory of party competition and the logic of money-driven political systems by Thomas Ferguson. This is basically saying that, or how money operates in politics. Okay, this is like political science, sociological graduate level text. Okay, this is Developing Critical Youth Work Theory. This is how you communicate critical issues to young people. Hold on, it's kind of hard to see from back there. And my thing isn't mirrored, but this is Developing Critical Youth Work Theory. The people who came up with the theory tried to empower the youth in Roxbury, where I grew up, Roxbury, Boston, to do civil engagement against the city, allowing these companies to dump in Roxbury, to dump in the Black communities in Roxbury. That's what this book is about. This is Super Imperialism, the Economic Strategy of the American Empire by Michael Hudson. This is about how the U.S. gained economic control of the world. Nothing I'm saying is a fucking conspiracy. Nothing I'm saying is a conspiracy. I studied it. I still study it. I've lived a life that's brushed up against it left and right. I was born during a regime change war in Liberia. I lived it. I studied it. I'm on the grassroots of it. Nothing I'm saying is conspiracy. But that's where my content has been funneled. That's the reason they give me for why they suppress my videos. I get misinformation strike. My videos go from 1.5K to 2 views. And it's not just TikTok. It's also YouTube. So there you go, chat. There you go. Now, I'm not saying this to say, woe is me. Oh my God. Like I'm like such a victim. I'm so burdened. I'm saying it to say, they don't want, it's not even about what I'm saying. They don't want this message. It has nothing to do with me. They don't give a fuck about me. They don't care about me. Why would they? It's not about me. They don't want the message out there because it challenges the system. It challenges the system. It says the system needs to go. The system is not, these institutions do not produce things that will destroy them. They produce things that coalesce their power and concentrates it and gives them more wealth. We all know this. It's all about growing the money, growing the power. They don't keep things around or let things grow that get in the way of that. This gets in the way of that. So naturally they suppress it. I mean, 2 views, guys, 2. It's comical. It's comical. Anyway, we persist. We persist. If you're in the stream, if you're on the purple app, the red app, I'll say that I won't use the actual name of those apps as frequently because there's nothing like critical there. It doesn't matter. I'll say genocide, but if you don't want me to say Twitch, sure, I want to say Twitch. The purple app, the red app, the green app. If you're on those, share, subscribe, like, whatever. Just help get this stuff out there, guys. Okay. This is a clip from CNN. Excuse me. And it's a reporter talking about this thing is like screw this off. Pardon chat. One sec. Sometimes my system's like reset in like goofy ways, bro. Like the goofiest of ways. Anyway, this is a clip I'm about to add from CNN. It's covering how Israel and the U.S. and Iran are doing the war. Let's remember always, chat. Wars are never started by poor people, by regular citizens, by the global majority. Wars are always started since the dawn of human history by the elites. Why do they start the wars? To enrich themselves. They start the wars for geopolitical power, for economic power, for mineral resource power. Okay? Those are the only reasons they do war. They don't have any ideology outside of that. They don't hold any like principled beliefs. They believe in power and wealth because it lets them do what they want to do. It gives them freedom above everyone else. We see this everywhere. We've seen it. Now I'm saying these things that are again, I don't know how it can be misinformation. Like, just listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. That's what I get striked for. Let me zoom this out a little bit. I don't know what's going on with that. My camera is being funny. One sec. So that's the bit of the context, right? Why are wars started? Who starts these wars? Why do they start? Yeah, why do they start these wars? Who starts them? And who pays? Who pays? Regular people pay. Trump is not going to go on the battlefield. Rubio is not going on the battlefield. Benson is not going on the battlefield. The Ayatollah is not going on the battlefield. The Israeli cabinet are not going on the battlefield. The elites send the peasants to fight the wars. They sent regular folks. They sent the serfs, the ones that they already subjugate within their respective countries. They send them to murder each other for their gains. That's what happens. Am I going to get striked for misinformation for saying that too? Okay. Let's see this clip. Make sure it's everywhere. All right.
A new front has just opened in this war with Iran. Hezbollah firing rockets on northern Israel, and Israel responding with airstrikes in Lebanon, including in the Lebanese capital of Beirut, specifically the southern suburbs known as the Dahya, which is a Hezbollah stronghold. Hezbollah saying that it is firing because Israel's aggression cannot go unchecked.
All right, let's pause there. So, again, a tried and true strategy of governments, any government, more so fascist and authoritarian governments. That's another buzzword that they will suppress. If you say fascist and authoritarianism, your stream gets blocked. Notice, you guys have been here before. You constantly hear the bot introduce people to the stream. The stream has already been suppressed. No one is showing up to the stream. This is actually prime streaming time. This is when people are on their lunch breaks from work and they'll just check into a stream. No one is entering the stream. No one is entering the stream. That's not by accident. And again, I'm not saying, oh, my channel is so big, I get so many views. I'm saying they're suppressing a particular message. They are suppressing a particular message. All right. Yeah, these elites are not going to go there to murder each other. They're going to send their peasants to go kill one another so the elites can be enriched, so they can maintain their power within their borders, and Israel and the United States is deemed Hezbollah a terrorist organization, right? This kind of definition being that, oh well, they murder civilians for political reasons, right? That's what terrorism means. Israel murders civilians for political reasons. We've seen it a million times. The U.S. murders civilians for political reasons. All governments are terrorist organizations. By that definition, the definition, all governments are terrorist organizations. Again, I'm saying this is going to get suppressed. It's misinformation. What you're calling like the most powerful institutions in the world terrorist organizations? Yes, because they are. If words mean anything, if words mean a damn thing, and that is the definition, and that is what governments do time and time again, they are terrorist organizations. All war is terrorism. War is violence for political reasons. War kills countless civilians. That's terrorism. Oh, but no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. They want you to think it's different. They want you to believe when they do mass death and destruction is special. It's justified. It's not.
Calling this a warning response, but it seems unlikely that Israel's going to take this as anything like a warning response. In fact, Israeli officials have indicated for some time now that they've been contemplating a major new offensive against Hezbollah in order to destroy the group and ensure that it is disarmed.
Okay, so this is also a tried and true strategy of just war. Typically, countries need what's called a pretext for going to war for other nations and for their own populations. As to say, this is why I'm going to war. This is why I am attacking this country or these groups of people. It's not because I want the land resources, the mineral resources, the geopolitical position, the advantageous geopolitical position. It's not that. It's not all these like practical reasons that government, and when I say practical, I mean totally in terms of like an amoral machine that is simply looking to increase its power. It's not for those reasons. It's because there's been an affront on my security, on my honor, on my sovereignty. BS. But they can't say the former. So they need something to justify the latter. So they give a pretext. And typically how they do that is they need the other side to show some act of aggression. It doesn't matter how big or how small, just something. And their acts of aggression is always justified, right? There's always some moral reason behind it. But the other side, the enemy, the bad guys, their acts of aggression is never justified, and is always a reason for mass death and destruction. So Israel, as they did to the Palestinians, they poke and prod, they subjugate, they oppress, they destroy, they murder. For like 75 years now, they've been doing it to the Palestinians. The Palestinians struck back, or call it the Palestinians, call it Hamas, whatever. Forces tied to Palestine struck back, and that was Israel's pretext. That's all they needed. They just needed them to do something. And now it's like October 7th, never forget. We can forget the 75 years of death and destruction doled out to the Palestinians. We already have forgotten that. No one talks about it. No one talks about it. But we can't forget October 7th. That was an affront. That was an injustice. And now we're going to use that as a reason to commit genocide, to murder hundreds of thousands of people, to level an entire civilization. Bomb hospitals, schools, aid workers, like everyone dead. Okay. It's insanity. It's insanity. Now with the Iran situation, the pretext here is, well, Iran is, and they've been saying this for literal decades. Iran has nukes. Iran has nukes. They struck an Iranian nuclear facility. I believe last year, killing a bunch of scientists because they said Iran was developing nukes. Iran said, no, we're not. But they killed those people regardless. And so now we have every reason to believe that Iran can't develop nukes because you blew up all the places that could do that. But guess what? They're still saying Iran has nukes. How can that be possible?
Yeah, I just wanted to like air out the house a bit, but you can close this in a little bit.
Iran has nukes, so we bomb them. We destroy the nuclear facilities, but somehow they still have nukes. I don't know what magicians they have in Iran, but they somehow still have nukes, okay? And so we bomb them some more. We bomb a school full of little girls. We blow them up. And Hezbollah sees this. You know, they've been deemed a terrorist group, right? For just reasons, right. For justification for the mic, for the what's up, Mike, for the West. Hezbollah strikes back, and now they have to. They can't not strike back because Israel and the United States will keep attacking them. But if they strike back, then they also lose. They also lose because now Israel and the U.S. can say, huh, look, they're attacking us. We have to kill them. They're crazy, murderous people. Trump got up there and was talking about how the Iranians are evil lunatics. They can't be reasoned. And so they have to go in there and drop freedom bombs on their heads.
And what Hezbollah has just done now by firing these rockets is it's given Israel the pretext and the opportunity to be able to go and carry out these major airstrikes that we're currently seeing in Lebanon and that have the potential to become a major new front in
Israel wants Lebanon. Look up how many times Israel has bombed Lebanon in the last 70 years. Hundreds of times. Israel wants Lebanon. Israel wants Syria. Israel wants Jordan. Israel wants Greater Israel. Now, people will say, that's a conspiracy theory. Netanyahu went to the UN holding up a picture of his ideal version of the Middle East, and it was Israel 6 times the size. But when people say Greater Israel, you're accused of spreading misinformation, even though the guy who is the most prominent political figure in the country all but said it himself. But if you point to that, it's misinformation because it doesn't fit with the narrative. All right. Israel wants there to be a front on Lebanon. They want to take their troops into Lebanon and never leave. And it'll just become another occupied place, like the occupied West Bank, like how Gaza is being occupied. And slowly but surely, they will phase the people out violently, and it will become part of Greater Israel.
This war, and this means that what is already a regional conflict with the United
it's just manifest destiny by another name, right?
How are we doing? Herds.
What's up, Hertz? The settlers in early America said it's our destiny to own this land. Israel says it was promised to us by God. Same thing, different words. It's manifest destiny. Israel is doing manifest destiny, and we saw how that went in the U.S. We genocided and massacred the Native Americans and took all the land. And Israel aims to do just that in their part of the world, in that part of the world. It's not theirs. No one owns any part of the world. It's nonsense.
United States and Israel carrying out strikes against Iran, Iran retaliating against not only Israel and U.S. military bases in the Gulf, but also against several of those Gulf countries, striking population centers. This means that this regional conflict is now expanding even further, and it also means
striking population centers, civilians. They just murder again, they always do this. They're all terrorist organizations. They are all terrorist organizations. They murder civilians for political reasons. That is the very definition of terrorism. They are all terrorist organizations. Every single one of them. There isn't a government in the world that is not a terrorist organization. They do terrorism for the elite of their nations because governments exist to serve the interests, the economic and political interests of the elites within their borders. They are simply an apparatus for that.
Means that we don't know where it's going to end. A new front has just opened in this war.
No one will see this this live. TikTok has made sure of that. YouTube will make sure of that, is making sure of that. We'll see what Twitch does. I bet you they make sure of that. Again, if you've been here before, you hear people joining the stream constantly. That won't be the case. That won't be the case because of what I'm talking about. Okay. So it goes, chat. So it goes. So it goes.
So the U.S. attack on Iran has prompted Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz. Yikes. The more obvious problem here is that the Strait of Hormuz is responsible for about 20 to 30% of oil and liquefied natural gas trade. Now, approximately 80 to 90% of the crude oil that's moving through the Strait of Hormuz is destined for Asian markets, primarily China, India, Japan, and South Korea. We talked yesterday about how important it was for the U.S. to get control of the largest oil reserves in the world in Venezuela before making this kind of a move. That move in Venezuela cushions the United States as far as the U.S. having access to more oil in this time, but also prevented China from continuing to get discounted oil from Venezuela as well. With that in consideration, as well as the fact that around 45 to 50% of China's oil imports are coming from the Middle East, there's a chance that the closing of the Strait of Hormuz only further adds to the pain that the U.S. competitor China is going to feel regarding.
Okay, so anyone who's been paying attention to geopolitics, international politics for like, I don't know, maybe a month now, will understand that the U.S. sees China as the biggest threat to U.S. global supremacy. Why? Because China has economically progressed at breakneck speed the past 40 years and become one of the biggest economies in the world. The military, their military more closely rivals the U.S. than any other one in the world, next to Russia. Excuse me. And they own a ton of U.S. assets. And so they are a competitor. China claims they don't want global supremacy because it's not sustainable. I would agree with that. No country should want global supremacy. Global supremacy is archaic. It's barbaric. And we should be looking for how we can collaborate and create sustainable systems, but at least don't give a two damn about that. They don't give anything about that. They want more wealth, more power. That's it. That's the only thing they can conceive of. So China is a threat because China challenges their position at the top. And excuse me, guys. Like I said, I'm sick. We've been doing any and everything to box China in. We've sent cruisers and ships carrying nukes flanking China. Look it up. Like there's a part of this chat where sometimes creators like flash like an article on the screen and blah blah. Like that's fucking bullshit. Like no one is like reading, no one is like stopping to read that flash of a couple words. And what does that prove? If you don't believe the things I'm saying, if you challenge them, if you have questions, look it up. That is your responsibility. It's your responsibility. It's your responsibility. In this day and age, you can't just like depend on someone doling out information to you. Look it up. If you challenge it, great. Awesome. Good for you. That's what I want you to do. Go research it. Go look it up. That is your civil responsibility.
Its oil imports. We also talked about the importance of liquefied natural gas and that being cut off from the Strait of Hormuz and how that might actually impact electricity production around the world. And
we are reacting to a video. What's up, MBG? We're reacting to a video that talks about how the Iranian war, or the war, Israel and the US's war with Iran, is going to impact China, because China gets a lot of its gas from the Middle East and Venezuela, but we control Venezuela now. We are seeking to control Iran. The British used to control Iran. Now we want to control it. Again, the Great Britain was the Second Reich, the second world power after Rome. Germany sought to be the third. They lost to the US. The US became the third. We are the Third Reich. I will say this a million times if I have to. If you don't understand what I mean by that, go look up the history, brother. I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, yeah, this guy's talking about how this impacts China's fuel resources. So let's listen.
so the U.S. attack on Iran has prompted Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz. Yikes. The more obvious problem here is that the Strait of Hormuz is responsible for about 20 to 30% of oil and liquefied natural gas trade. Now, approximately 80 to 90% of the crude oil that's moving through the Strait of Hormuz is destined for Asian markets, primarily China, India, Japan, and South Korea. We talked yesterday about how important it was for the U.S. to get control of the largest oil reserves in the world in Venezuela before making this kind of a move. That move in Venezuela cushions the United States as far as the U.S. having access to more oil in this time, but also prevented China from continuing to get discounted oil from Venezuela as well. With that in consideration, as well as the fact that around 45 to 50% of China's oil imports are coming from the Middle East, there's a chance that the closing of the Strait of Hormuz only further adds to the pain that the U.S. competitor China is going to feel regarding its oil imports. We also talked about the importance of liquefied natural gas and that being cut off from the Strait of Hormuz and how that might actually impact electricity production around the world. And this being even more significant because of the fact that we have this global race for AI supremacy, where electricity is needed. So the AI narrative is a piece of this that we have to keep an eye on. We also saw an Amazon Web Services data center in the United Arab Emirates apparently get shut down after a fire amid Iran strikes. Now, we can't know for sure if this was particularly being targeted, but it does lead us into the core of today's focus. What a lot of us may be overlooking here regarding the situation in the Strait of Hormuz is that besides a significant portion of the world's oil and natural gas flowing through the strait, there's also a significant portion of the world's fiber optic cables that are going through the Strait of Hormuz as well. Now, not too many people know this, but the internet does rely on physical infrastructure. In particular, there are what are called
I mean, naturally, right? Naturally, that's why I like Starlink. I mean, Starlink is also physical infrastructure, but that was part of why that was so important, because the physical infrastructure was less than and sort of operates differently, right? This satellite kind of beaming connectivity to these various nodes, working as sort of a radio signal. At least that's how I conceive of it. But that is not the way most of our connectivity operates. We operate through fiber optic cables and these cell towers.
Called fiber optics cables that connect the internet across continents. The vast majority of long distance internet data, roughly 95% of the world's internet data, travels by undersea fiber optic cables, not satellites or any routes along the ground. Now, there are fiber optic cables that run through the Strait of Hormuz that carry a significant portion of internet data traffic between Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and beyond. And there's a possibility of Iran looking to disrupt the undersea fiber optic cables in the Strait of Hormuz. Let's not forget that several key undersea fiber optic cables in the Red Sea were damaged in early 2024, and this caused significant disruptions to internet traffic between Europe, Asia, and the Middle East just a year and a half ago. Now, the Iranian Houthi rebels were initially being accused of deliberately attacking these cables, and experts and reports have since suggested that maybe this damage was likely caused by commercial ship anchors that were dragging across the seabed. Well, whether or not Iran was actually responsible for the disruption of those fiber optic cables is probably something that we'll see soon if they move to do this to the fiber optic cables that are running through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, it's not that all of the internet's traffic is running through the Strait of Hormuz, but if they were to deliberately attack and try to break up and disrupt these fiber optic cables, it could cause some problems throughout the entire region and potentially even in India, Pakistan, and the rest of Asia. Now, if Iran were to try to disrupt these fiber optic cables that go through the Strait of Hormuz, it would probably have the biggest impact on the other Gulf countries. In that event, it's also questionable what impact this would actually have. I mean, there's a lot of redundancy in these networks, so if you just try to take out one of the major choke points, it might just light up the other ones and only lead to internet traffic rerouting, for instance, or increases in latency or just slower connections, and maybe some regional congestion spikes. And financial networks in the Gulf might see delays in any of the payments and things that they're trying to get through. But depending upon how they went about it, it could create bigger issues. Iran is very much so aware of the power of attacking digital infrastructure. Someone who I had the pleasure of
All of war is destroying infrastructure, and war sees human beings as infrastructure, as resources. War is a game of logistics. It's is how will you move your forces? How efficiently and effectively can you move your forces? How can you ensure to like capture particular points and zones that box in and suppress your enemy, that destroys their infrastructure, their logistical lines, their supply chains? If they cannot supply their troops, they cannot win. If you can better supply your troops, you can win. If you can better move your troops, you can win. War is all about logistics. How do I cut them off from resources? How do I destroy their resources? How do I destroy their infrastructures such that they cannot replenish their resources? If you can do that, you win. War is a logistics game, and victory is gained through destruction of infrastructure.
meeting throughout some of my travels in life has been in Iran throughout all of this that has been going on. His name is Ali, and he reported to me that throughout the protests that were taking place, the Iranian government shut down the internet across the country so that no one could access information and know what was actually going on in the streets. He said he wasn't able to get in touch with his family throughout the time that they were killing thousands of protesters. So Iran is not a stranger to the idea of using digital infrastructure as a weapon. There are several domains through which warfare takes place.
Please understand, guys, this is not some like advocacy for the Iranian government, not advocating for any government, you will refer to what I said about governments earlier. They're all terrorist organizations. And of course, as a terrorist organization, the Iranian government is murdering its own citizens. My position is from a humanist perspective that says any cause that would reap death and destruction to huge swaths of humanity is wrong. And it's doubly wrong if the impetus of that, if this, or at the core of that, at the crux of that, is to enrich elites.
In the modern day, with the primary ones being land, air, and sea. Now we also have space warfare, which is combat that's conducted from outer space. But then we also have information warfare. We're targeting information systems, and public perception is the main medium. And finally,
so information warfare is something that these countries do regularly. Like, they are constantly engaged in information warfare. There is no time in which these countries are not engaged in information warfare, right? Controlling the narrative, making themselves out to be in the right, making their enemies, be it domestically or internationally, out to be in the wrong.
we have cyber warfare.
And then not only that, sort of dictating the bounds of what can be thought of as right or wrong. Excuse me.
Attacks on digital infrastructure, computers, and networks. And with the land, air, and sea already very much so at play, the next move for Iran might be to move things to the world of information and cyber warfare. Something like what you may have seen in the movie Leave the World Behind. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. And
Nay, thanks for sharing the stream, Nay.
Nay.
That goes a long way, Chad. It goes a long way. Apologies for all the coughing noises. I wish this is not where we were. Doesn't feel good. So I use these videos as a medium to kind of spur my thoughts and give me a jumping off point, serve as a segue to communicate particular ideas. And if you liked this person's brief, their stream or their channel is Keith D. I'm not trying to like rip people's work off. People work hard on this stuff. It's Keith D. Check out his YouTube channel if you enjoyed his analysis.
We have Jeffrey Sachs with us, Columbia University professor, one of the most well-regarded economists and commentators. He's put out a video right now that's going viral on what he believes is the real reason why Iran has been attacked. Professor Sachs, good to have you. Thank you for being here on NDTV on a big day for the region and a big day for the world. I'm going to ask you to tell our viewers, you know, what you've said in that video, Professor Sachs. Why do you think Iran has been attacked?
This is the U.S. Attempt to continue or maintain or sustain its global hegemony. This is a war.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what all of this is. The world is in flux.
How are we doing? Paul?
How do we know? So, Paul, how do we know the world is in flux? Because there are other nations that have not been in the that have not been globally economically relevant that are becoming more so. And so powers are shifting. Powers are shifting. Pardon me, guys. This is just where we're at. I will be on the mend eventually. Right now, we're not there yet. Powers are shifting. And as these powers shift, the U.S. doesn't necessarily have to get less powerful, but if other countries become more powerful, then in comparison, relative to the US has gotten less powerful, right? And to maintain global dominance, or if the US desires to maintain global dominance, and the US certainly desires to maintain global dominance, they will move to suppress indirectly the economic growth and political growth of these other nations. And that's all we're seeing here, right? What should fix our sort of analysis, or the framework by which we should look at these things, is from a humanist one, and one that understands the purpose of government. I will repeat it. It is to secure and expand the economic and political interests of the elites within its borders. That is the purpose of governments. That has always been the purpose of governments. And so, of course, what the U.S. is doing here is to expand and sort of secure the foundation of U.S. global hegemony.
War for control of the Middle East. It's a war for control of the oil of the Middle East. It is not at all what Donald Trump said about any threat from Iran. This is just an imperial lie. This is an imperial war. And it is a very vicious one, and it is probably the start of World War III, I have to say. I hope that it's not the start of nuclear annihilation, but I think it is a global war. And it is a war of U.S.-Israeli hegemony in the Middle East, and a war for global dominance. The United States invaded Venezuela to control the Western Hemisphere oil. Now it is trying to overthrow the government of Iran to control the Middle East oil. This will hurt India terribly, by the way, and it's also aimed at China. So Asia is the loser in this war, and this is a completely criminal action. But whether anybody stands up and tells the truth about it, that is fearful of the United States or Israel, I don't know.
Rip ad blockers, chat, but I wouldn't block this ad. This is an organization called Save the Children. It's looking for you to donate to helping the children who have been the victims of elite proliferation and the death and destruction that they dole out to populations around the world. Here specifically, the children and the people of Palestine, not the Gazans, the people of Palestine. A sec, I'm trying to fix something here, but let's keep listening.
Going to happen next, Professor Sachs? You know, as far as the escalation ladder is concerned, attacks have taken place on various cities in Iran. There have been retaliatory attacks on US bases in Bahrain, in Abu Dhabi, in Qatar, and a couple of other places. In the past, things have kind of ended at this point. Do you see them escalating onward from here?
Well, of course, there is no path of de-escalation by the U.S. and Israel. These are hegemonic actors. They have announced their goal. Their goal isn't to return Iran to the negotiating table. Iran was at the negotiating table. Their goal was not to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. It didn't have one, didn't want one, and had said so for the last 12 years. Donald Trump ripped up the agreement, the JCPOA, that put Iran under a rigorous monitoring regime. This is about global hegemony. And countries like India have to decide, are they independent countries? Do they sign up to U.S. empire? This is what this is about. Israel, by the way, is the most violent country in the world, kilometer by kilometer, by far. But it
Israel is a military proxy for the U.S. They are a mercenary state. Israel is violent because they also seek the geopolitical interests of their elites, of the Zionists. They run the country. The Jewish supremacists, they run the country. They are in league with the white supremacists in the U.S. that run this country. And they want global hegemony. What that means is global dominance. Everyone does what they say. Everyone listens to them. They rule the world. That's what they want.
it also banks on having the United States behind it. And it's not just Trump. This is a long-standing CIA project that is underway right now. So this is a very
Apologies, chat. Trying to test out some
This
sounds
has
right
nothing
now.
to do with what is stated. This is about U.S. control over the Middle East, and the idea is U.S. control over the world. The idea is that India will fall into line, the Middle East will fall into line, Latin America has no choice, Europe is a vassal state. That's what this is about.
Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump have just spoken over the phone, according to the latest of what we're hearing, Professor Sachs. In your mind, you know, what might they have discussed? Obviously, I'm not asking you to conjecture, but from everything we know, you know, Netanyahu is calling this Operation Roaring Lion. President Trump calls it Epic Fury. What do you think they talked about?
Well, Trump takes his orders from Netanyahu. This is very simple. Netanyahu came last week and ordered the war, and the war goes on. The United States is actually not even the lead agent in this. The Zionist lobby in the United States is so powerful that it puts the United States repeatedly into these wars. The American public is absolutely against this. This is quite interesting. But the American public does not count for anything right now.
So I reject this analysis that says the U.S. is taking cues from Israel. Israel is a military asset of the U.S. Do they have lobbying power in the United States? Yes. Are there powerful, economically powerful people in the U.S., Jewish people in the U.S. who advocate for the interest of Israel? Absolutely. Do they use the monetary political system to do that? Absolutely. Does that then mean that the United States is in some sort of subordinate role to Israel? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The United States will look out for the interests of Israel, one, because there's this sort of tie between the two countries in terms of their political interests, and also there's a moneyed interest within the United States that continues to give money to secure the interest of the Israeli government. But that is no different than any other lobbying group within the United States. And some people will say, oh, well, but it's for like a foreign entity. Sure, but how is that any different than like the Saudi lobby? The difference here is that the United States doesn't use Saudi Arabia as a gun. The United States uses Israel as a gun in the Middle East. They are a proxy for our aggression.
Our affairs, because we do not have a constitutional country. We have basically a military state, and Trump is the figurehead of that military state.
Is this Helldivers? What is this?
As far as the Al Khamenei is concerned, Professor Sachs, do you see this playing out in the same template that it has before? His ceremonial home has been targeted. He is about to make a national address in a short while from now. The same boilerplate statements have been issued from Iran saying, there will be a crushing response, and you've seen these token attacks on different bases of the American military in the Middle East. Does Iran have the capacity to do something bigger in your view?
I don't think that the U.S. has the capacity to overthrow the Iranian government in a day or a week or a month, as it believes that it does. If you look at almost all events like this, even overthrowing Bashar al-Assad or overthrowing Milosevic in 1999, or overthrowing Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, the United States does not usually have the means to do this in a day or a month. Maybe they're drunk with their supposed success in Venezuela by exfiltrating a president, but this is not Venezuela. This is a country of 100 million people. It's a vast region. It is a mountainous region. It is a region that understood for many, many years that the United States was out to overthrow it. So it's not unprepared or caught off.
And who exactly who is being overthrown? Who is being overthrown, chat? And again, this is where my analysis differs from the rest of these people. Who's being overthrown? Are they just going to replace every single person in Iran? No. Who's being overthrown? The elites of Iran, the political and economic elites in Iran. Some of the elites will work with whoever kind of takes the top of the totem pole. But right now, the elites in Iran, they're the ones who are going to be overthrown. They're the ones who are killing their population. And the US will install people who will, other elites, or make new ones who will do the interests of the United States and Israel. That is the nature of that.
Off guard. The Straits of Hormuz, I believe, will be attacked, and so I don't think that these are pinprick operations attacking the Gulf. I think it's preparatory to closing the Straits of Hormuz. Now, all of this then depends on things that I don't properly understand in terms of the military dynamics of the next few weeks. But what I do understand is something about geopolitics. This is a brazen, illegal, vulgar overreach by the United States that I do not see how it can have a success, frankly. One success 73 years ago was when the CIA and MI6 overthrew the Iranian government and installed a police state. I don't see how that can happen in today's world. But that's the model of the United States, that they will soon install a police state. I doubt that.
It's regime change. That is the model. That is the playbook. That is what they always do. It's regime change. This is how the playbook goes. We find some pretext, or create a pretext for why this government is no longer legitimate, either because they're attacking their own people, or they're trying to attack the United States, be it directly, indirectly, or they're smuggling drugs into the United States. That's typically how the playbook goes. That's the start of it, right? You find a pretext, choose one. Dictator, drug smuggler, aggression against the United States. Yeah, it's one of those three. Okay, pick one. All right. Now you go in You either send your own troops in, you send a mercenary state in, or you support an insurgency. Whichever one makes the most sense, that's the one you do. You fight it out because you have more resources, because you have more experience with war, because the United States has never not been at war. You will most likely win. You win, you put in power the people who will serve your interests. You gain a geopolitical foothold in that region. You expand U.S. global hegemony, and you move on and do it again. You move on and do it again.
That this is at all realistic.
Professor Sachs, Reuters reporting a piece of breaking news right now since you mentioned the Gulf of Hormuz. Reuters quoting the IRGC Navy that has announced that no vessels are any longer being allowed to cross and has closed the Strait of Hormuz to any traffic. This is huge. This is Reuters reporting this right now. What do you think the fallout of this immediately is going to be?
Well, I think that this is the Iranian plan. The United States will try to defeat Iran to prevent this from happening. But I would anticipate that there will be a massive disruption of world oil flows in the coming weeks, and that this will most likely, again, I'm guessing, everybody knows I'm guessing because nobody can really anticipate, but I'm guessing that this will put the world economy into a serious crisis in the coming weeks. Again, I'm not there as a military strategist. If the United States thinks it has something up its sleeve, I would be surprised, quite frankly. By the way, I heard just 5 minutes ago that one of the U.S. bombs killed 100 schoolgirls in a school outside of Tehran.
So I thought that number was closer to 50. I guess it's closer to 100. You know, it was 50 when the news initially broke, but obviously more bodies are tallied after the fact. Yeah, but no one should be shocked. No one should be aghast. It's par for the course. Remember what I said about these governments all being terrorist organizations? Bombing a school full of little girls? Who does that? Fill in the blank, chat.
This is mass murder. We should not forget the school children that are dying right now.
Yeah.
We'll hear more about this, but I just heard this from a reliable source 5 minutes ago. This is a brazen, murderous, illegal attack, and it's very dangerous for the world. World leaders are pathetic right now. In Europe, they all fall in behind Trump. In Canada, they fell in behind Trump. In Australia, they fell in behind Trump. No one wants peace in this world. They just want to satisfy a mad emperor. This is very dangerous for all of us, I have to say. If people cannot speak the most basic truth of a premeditated, murderous, illegal strike on another country, well, how can we avoid World War III?
So even this
What
guy,
role do you,
who's a professor at Columbia, who I would, my analysis differs from his a bit, but this guy with a lot of institutional clout, sway, and pull, he's a professor at Columbia University, one of the most esteemed institutions of higher learning in the world. He's not getting invited on CNN. He's not getting invited on MSNBC to say the things he's saying because it doesn't fit with the imperial narrative. So guys, again, it's not me saying like, oh, woe is me. Look, they're trying to shut me down. No, it's a particular narrative that does not fit within the Overton window, within the window of acceptable thought, within the window of acceptable debate. You will never see him on Fox News. You'll never see him on MSNBC, on CNN. And that's not by accident.
do you think Russia will or can play in what lies ahead, Professor Sachs? Because the Iranian regime will be looking to Russia. They've been looking to Russia for their weapons supply chain in the run-up to this as well. How do you see the Russian role?
I think both Russia and China will try to find ways to sustain the Iranian regime. This is, as I say, an attack on China as much as it is an attack on Iran. This is part of an American hegemonic move. India should not feel comfortable about that, however. It's going to suffer directly from this. And the whole world suffers when the United States behaves like the British Empire. We don't need another global empire. This is the most basic point.
The United States have always behaved like the British Empire. There have been times in which we were explicit in our imperial ambitions, and other times we're more subtle about it. But in terms of us gaining territory around the world, at first we're like, oh, we'll stick to this hemisphere. We'll take Latin America and, some of the things along the region. If you even look at the territory the U.S. owns around the world, what is that but an empire? And all we've done is just taken the masks off. We've just taken the masks off and said, hey, we are a global empire. We are the Third Reich. We've been playing coy for the last 70 years. We're done with that. Now we're just coming right out and saying it.
Final question, Professor Sachs. There was an 8-minute video statement that was put out by Donald Trump. I know you've seen it. After these attacks began. What did you think of that? Because he was very clear, even if you accommodate all the hyperbole that you usually grant Trump and his brand of communication, he was very specific about his intended outcome being regime change and the people of Iran rising up and taking back what's theirs. Do you think he's painted himself into a corner, or does that not really matter in Trump's world?
It doesn't matter, but he has painted all of us into the edge of a global precipice. He's a very mentally unstable person. He is delusional and he is a megalomaniac. But on top of that, behind him is the CIA and Mossad. So this is not Trump alone. These are grandiose ideas, long-standing. So it's not only Trump, but there's no break. There's no foot.
I'm glad he's saying that. I hate when people put all this on Trump's head. It just shows a misunderstanding for how governments operate. Trump is a figurehead. He's a conduit for elite interests. All he does is signs the check, right? He's a figurehead. These were plans made years, decades even, in advance by U.S. planners. The people who create the political strategy for the U.S. You think the political strategy for the U.S. is changing every 4 years? That's not sustainable. That's not sustainable. The U.S. would have been destroyed if every 4 years we started doing something completely different. Of course not. Doesn't make any sense. Even if it was every 8 years, the U.S. would be destroyed. It doesn't make any sense. This has been planned years in advance, decades in advance.
Put on the brake. This is only an accelerator towards expanded war right now. And the only way that it can stop is if the BRICS countries, and that means India, that means Brazil, that means Russia, that means China, that means South Africa, and others, and it's Iran, which is a member of the BRICS, says this is not the way the world can work. They have to stand up to American hegemony. This is the only way the world can be safe. And so this is actually a responsibility of the BRICS right now, which is the only standing bulwark against America's global empire. And the empire has gotten a lot more violent today. And it's shown it doesn't want to hide anything anymore. It just There is no
Roy,
If you have one of these,
It doesn't hide anymore. It doesn't hide anymore. There's no hiding it. There is straight up, we are the global empire. We are white supremacists. We are taking over the world.
mad emperor. This is, well, how can we avoid World War III? Murderous, ill. Well, how can we avoid?
will or can play in what lies?
Will try to find ways to sustain hegemonic move. The world suffers when the United States behaves like the British Empire. We don't need another global empire.
Yeah.
This is the most basic point.
Final question, Professor. Hyperbole that you usually grant. Do you think he's painted himself into a corner, or does that not really matter in Trump's world?
It doesn't matter, but he has painted all of us into the edge of a global precipice. He's a very mentally unstable person. He is delusional and he is a megalomaniac. But on top of that, behind him is the CIA and Mossad. So this is not Trump alone. These are grandiose ideas, long-standing. So it's not only Trump, but there's no...
We are watching videos of different people talking about the conflict, the war with Iran, and the implications of that. Been going for a little bit over an hour now. Naturally, it's being suppressed. But what are you gonna do? We keep going.
Tay says, oh dear.
Oh dear, brother. Oh dear. Yeah, this is Jeffrey Sachs, a professor of economics, I believe, at Columbia University. Even him, he doesn't get invited on these mainstream platforms to discuss his ideas because it goes against the narrative. It doesn't fit within. It goes against the imperial narrative. It doesn't fit within the Overton window, within the acceptable realms of debate, of thought
How we doing?
in U.S. mainstream thought. But we're kind of getting to the end here of this clip, so let's just let him finish his remarks.
It doesn't matter, but he has painted all of us into the edge of a global precipice. He's a very mentally unstable person. He is delusional and he is a megalomaniac. But on top of that, behind him is the CIA and Mossad. So this is not Trump alone. These are grandiose ideas, long-standing. So it's not only Trump, but there's no brake. There's no foot on the brake. This is only an accelerator towards expanded war right now. And the only way that it can stop is if the BRICS countries, and that means India, that means Brazil, that means Russia, that means China, that means South Africa, and others, and it's Iran, which is a member of the BRICS, says this is not the way the world can work. They have to stand up to American hegemony. This is the only way the world can be safe. And so this is actually a responsibility of the BRICS right now, which is the only standing bulwark against America's global empire. And the empire has gotten a lot more violent today. And it's shown it doesn't want to hide anything anymore. It just is in open war.
Professor Jeffrey Sachs, as always, you give us a great deal to think about as we continue to report this. So I thank you for your time here on.
Yeah, so I'll sum up kind of what I've said thus far, Yote, since you just joined. The U.S. and Israel have just started a war with Iran. This is not a war that has been like months in the making. It's not something that's a result of the Trump administration. It has been planned years, if not decades in the making by U.S. planners. These countries, contrary to popular belief, do not operate in these sort of 4 to 8 year kind of increments. No, that wouldn't be sustainable for an enterprise, the scope of a global empire, to sort of change its operations and its plans and its direction every 4 years or every 8 years. That's not sustainable. There's an undercurrent and an understanding amongst the elites of what their interests are, what their material, economic, and political interests are. And they're all aligned there. They're all aligned there. How do we know this? Well, all the politicians who ostensibly have these varied perspectives and interests always agree on the military budget, because the military budget and the military is a way of, one, recycling money from the general population to the elites, and also increasing and expanding and sort of shoring up the foundation of U.S. global hegemony, U.S. global dominance. Okay. This war wasn't an overnight thing. This war wasn't a Trump administration thing. This war is a U.S. imperial dominance thing that's been planned by U.S. planners for however long.
Planned since September 11th, if not earlier.
If not earlier, brother. If not earlier. This isn't on a whim. And no one should be looking to place it on the head of any one administration. Let go of those ideas of these sort of groups vying for political supremacy in the U.S. The group that holds political supremacy in the U.S. are the U.S. elites. Our biggest threat geopolitically is China. They've been saying this forever, and we're doing everything we can to box China in. Why is China such a threat? The U.S. wants global hegemony. It wants global dominance. We've had it for a long time. It doesn't exist or show up in the same way as past empires, right? We're not sort of in this big way, in this overt way in every country, but we have military bases in countries all around the world. What is that but a global empire? The international monetary system is based off the US currency. That's economic global dominance. So we have military dominance and we have economic dominance. We control the world. Okay, we want to keep things that way. When other countries in, let's say, China begins to grow economically, proliferate economically, that threatens this dynamic of U.S. global hegemony. And so we want to get ahead of that. We want to rein that in. How do we do that? Remember, war is a thing of logistics. War is a game of logistics. You need to supply your forces. You need to make sure they cannot supply their forces. You need to destroy their infrastructure by which they supply their forces. Iran supplies China with fuel, with oil. So we take out Iran. China now has a resource crisis on their hands. We've already been flanking China with war boats, nuclear missiles, all of it. Look it up, chat. It's right there for you. I can't do all the work because you have a civil responsibility. I know these creators come up here and flash these articles. That shit is spectacle. No one is pausing to read those. And even if it doesn't prove anything, you're not going to go read the article and then the next 10 and then the like book you have to read to get proper context on it. No one's doing that shit. So spare me that nonsense. You can, and I encourage you to. Okay. Anyway, war is a game of logistics. The U.S. has been in a proxy war with China for God knows how long now. And people are like, well, we collaborate with China too. It's not an either or thing. It's not an either or thing. It's not an either or thing. Okay. Wars don't always show up in this sort of overt way of like we're both bombing each other. No. So be it that war is a game of logistics, we need to cut off China's supplies, the way by which China sustains itself. A critical resource is fuel, because China gets, I think 80% it was of Iranian oil goes to China. If the U.S. now controls that, China has a resource crisis on its hands. That's great for the U.S. It impedes China's economic growth, and we want that. We want that. We also want greater geopolitical presence in the Middle East, because that also serves as a buffer for Russian expansion, Russian power, and Chinese power. This is why we're so in league with Israel, because Israel is a military state that does our bidding. Israel is the U.S. is a gun of the U.S. in that region, right? When we want to bomb somebody, but we don't want to do it directly, we just send the bombs to Israel and then they launch the bombs. Literally, that's what we do. We're like, hey, Israel, we're going to send you like 100 bombs. Send them to Lebanon. Send them to Syria. Send them to Iran. Send them to you name it. And Israel sends the bombs. Because they're a proxy for U.S. aggression. All right, that kind of sums up what we just talked about. I'm not gonna go through like every, because I think videos like this.
Ukraine is sending quote unquote undisclosed supplies, weapons.
Yeah, Ukraine is also has also been made into a U.S. Mercenary state. How did this happen? I talked about it on my last stream. That shit got fucking flagged for misinformation right away. Even though Representative Thomas Massie went on Theo Vaughn's show and confirmed that we installed Zelensky. We did regime change in Ukraine. There was a civil war in Ukraine, and Zelensky came into power after that. The U.S. manufactured that, put him into power as a way of checking Russia. Why would we want Ukraine in NATO if that means that it then allows us to put a military base on the border of Russia? Of course, Russia is not going to go for that. Of course, that's only going to create conflict. But we did it anyway. Both administrations did it. So it's not a matter of like these people having different political beliefs. That's fucking bullshit. We instill Zelensky in Ukraine. We invite them into NATO, knowing that going to spur these two countries into war, and then we fund the war in Ukraine. By doing so, we create a means to generate these arms that funnels money to these high-tech companies, to these companies that produce goods and arms for the military. The elites profit. We check our enemies, and we expand U.S. global hegemony. Now we control Ukraine. Soon we will control Iran like the British Empire controlled Iran. We now control Palestine. It's the patterns are right there, chat. The patterns are right there. These aren't super complicated. The veil is thin. You just have to decide to look at it. But yeah, this video is like, it's titled Iran War Day 4 Live Updates. We don't do that. That's like, you don't need to know every grim and gory detail about what's going on. You need to understand the patterns and the implications. That's all. Also, what I talked about is that YouTube has also been suppressing my content. I'm not saying this as like to say, woe is me, oh my God, like I'm being put down. No, like they don't care about me. They don't give a damn about me. It's about the narrative. It's about how what I'm saying goes against a narrative that recycles and perpetuates U.S. global hegemony. Okay. My videos typically get anywhere between 300 to 1,500 views. Okay. That's kind of where I'm sitting at. I'm a small channel. All right. Every time I talk about politics, every time I talk about anything political, it gets suppressed. It dips from anywhere between 300 to 1,000 to like less than 100. Okay? And that's the pattern. Chat is just simple pattern recognition. The videos where I'm just gaming do better. The videos where I start talking about political things don't. But my channel has always been overtly games and politics. Political 11, political 2, 3, 0. This one doesn't even have views. For what reason? Oh, well, the content is just bad. No one wants to hear what you're saying. How can that be the case if they never show it to people? How can that be the case if they never show it to people?
Yode says for the reason of controlling you and the narrative.
They don't want this narrative out there. That's why even Jeffrey Sachs, who's a professor at one of the most prominent universities in the world, doesn't get invited to these mainstream media spaces because the story he's telling goes against the story they want you to hear. So this isn't like a woe is me. This is like, they don't care about me. They don't know about me. The algorithms catch particular terms, and I refuse to not say those terms, and suppress it. And a ton of creators have fallen victim to this, and they think they're like gaming the system. You're not gaming the system, you fools. You're allowing it to work exactly as they intended to work. It's not going to happen overnight. First says you can't say genocide, and so they say G-side. If you say genocide, your content gets obviously suppressed. They all know this, so they're like, okay, we won't say genocide. Instead, we'll say G-side. Okay.
Says TikTok doesn't even let me repost this live.
That's interesting, isn't it? That's interesting. Why? Why?
YouTube
Okay.
is not sure if that's a TikTok thing or a setting you have, but I can't repost.
I didn't put any setting. I didn't put any setting saying people can't repost. I'll tell you that right now, bro. I didn't put any setting saying people can't repost this live. Couldn't repost. That is so funny, bro. That is so funny. Imagine that. So you go from saying genocide, which is what the thing is.
Says exact thing it tells me.
You go from saying genocide to G-side. Okay. Let's do that for like 5 years. Oh, now you can't say G-side. So you say side. Now you can't say side. Now the meaning starts to get lost. Start to get like obfuscated. Now people who are unfamiliar with this thing have no idea what you're talking about. You can't be intelligible about these issues anymore. And you're being slowly conditioned to suppress your own speech. And you think you're gaming the system. When these platforms started flagging these particular wars and suppressing content, the response from these more bigger creators, these creators with bigger platforms, should have been to double down and resist. Instead, they capitulated. And they all played the game. And the censorship works. And it's going to be more and more censorship. More and more censorship. And now it's the norm. Now it's justified. But they want to keep their income streams. They want to keep the TikTok money going, the YouTube money going, the Instagram money going, right? It's now their livelihood. Great. The elites win again. Of course, they weren't just going to outrightly suppress your speech in this overt and hard way. Do it subtly, little by little, in increments, such that they even forget that it's happening. Of course, that's how you would do it. It's more effective to do it that way, you numbskulls. What's up, Chase? And people out here saying G-side. I refuse to say it's a fucking genocide. Well, what the hell is a G-side? It's child rape. It's murder. It's pedophilia. It's global elite dominance. It's not all these stupid ass terms you guys keep saying so your videos get views while they oppress or suppress your speech. But because they all did it, now it's the norm. We've already lost that fight. Now it's the norm. There's no going back. Don't make no mistake, chat. There's no going back to where you can say these things on these platforms anymore. There's no going back. They've already made that the norm. That's it. That's where we're at now. Anywho, I think there was one more video I wanted to check out. It's so sad, man. It's so sad. Watch Sachs again.
Undeclared wars are commonplace.
What if it is dangerous to be right when the government is wrong? What if it is better to perish fighting for freedom than to live as a slave? What if freedom's great?
Sachs joins us now. Professor Sachs, thank you very much for your time and for accommodating my schedule. before we get to the ramifications of an undeclared
How we doing?
war and the
M.
murder of a religious leader who was also the head of state, your thoughts, big picture, on this Israeli and U.S. invasion of Iran?
I think Netanyahu confirmed what I've been saying for many, many years. He says, this is my dream come true for 40 years. I had put it at 30 years because he's been prime minister for 30 years.
Yode says I gotta
This
go
is a
grocery
long-term
shopping. If
plan.
you'll still live when I get back, you'll join, but you'll see ya soon.
Catch you later, Yote. Thanks for dropping in, brother.
This is a Mossad CIA plan for American control of the Middle East.
What's up,
and
Chase?
Israeli military hegemony in the Middle East that has been underway since 1996. It has involved wars across the Middle East. It has left rivers of blood from Libya to Sudan, Somalia, the genocide in Gaza, the annexation of the West Bank, the bombing, including today, of Beirut, and the destruction of Lebanon, the destruction of Syria, the destruction of Iraq in the Iraq War, the destruction of Yemen as a functioning country, and the goal.
No, I've already slept too much.
1996.
I'm super sick and I've been in bed since like 11, and I gotta wake up or I won't be able to sleep tonight, and I won't be able to. I'll just have a bad day at work tomorrow. I can't risk using any more sick days. Like I can, but it's just not in my interest to do so. But today was bad. This morning was horrible.
He says it's 40 years. I have put it at 30 years. Is the destruction of Iran.
Guys, if you're in the stream,
madness.
Share the stream. Share the stream, please. Please click share. Tap the screen. It really helps out to get this message out there. That's all I'm trying to do is get this message out there.
This is murderous delusion. And this is what is underway right now. This is not some short-term issue. These are the famous 7 wars in 5 years that Wesley Clark told us about a long time ago. This is clean break doctrine of Netanyahu. He's a madman, and he and the madmen in charge in the United States have brought us into this. They are systematically destroying our country as they are destroying the Middle East. It's very, very serious. If you ask why do the roads not work and the bridges not work in the United States, why is infrastructure falling to pieces, why are living standards stagnant or declining, it's because we spend trillions of dollars in war. Why is China advancing so rapidly, so effectively? Why does the United States have not 1 mile of fast rail? China just completed its 50,000th kilometer, approximately 30,000 miles of fast rail, because China doesn't go to war. The United States is in nonstop war. And so this is just adding to the destruction of our country. It's like your lead-in every day, Judge, about undeclared wars, about the cost to our society, the loss of freedom of being ruled by a military state, which we are, of being in partnership with a absolutely rogue, murderous nation, which is Israel, which thinks a little bit beyond its means because it thinks it has the United States to do all of its work for it. But that country of 10 million people thinks that it is going to run the Middle East. And the United States has been duly following orders coming from Mr. Netanyahu for 30 years, and we're at it again. Trump, let me add, is an utter disgrace to our nation. Utter disgrace. He lied to us every word about America first. His whole premise was we're not going to do this. And he did exactly the opposite of what he said. He did exactly the opposite of what the American people say. Of course, Congress is dead for all intents and purposes. Doesn't matter whether it's Johnson or Schumer, they're useless, these people. They're all in the Zionist lobby payroll. They have squandered our wealth. They have squandered our strength. They have diverted our attention from our elevators and our escalators and our roads and our power grid and all the things that make life viable for us. Our housing stock, everything, to divert our trillions of dollars to this madness that is underway right now. It's been a 30-year project of madness that has cost us trillions and trillions of dollars. And it's a kind of psychopathy because they're killing people wantonly. They're killing schoolgirls. No one even pauses. 150.
No one even pauses at that. No one even pauses. They're murdering children on a regular basis, and we don't even pause and scoff at it anymore.
50 schoolgirls bombed by Israel. No one even mentions these things. It's absolutely shocking, disgraceful, dangerous, bankrupting our country. And Trump lied every word of what he was going to do.
How do you think this will affect relations with Russia? I mean, who would negotiate with America again? This is the second time in 8 months that these lies have attempted to lull Iran into a false sense of security, believing that they were engaged in legitimate negotiations, whereas the decision for war was made before the negotiations started.
The United States does
Leo, what's up?
not negotiate. It cheats. That's been true for a long time, by the way. That is the mentality of the CIA-led security state, which is that it can do what it wants. The war in Ukraine came because of the U.S. push for NATO to go to Russia's border. But that itself was a lie, because there were negotiations with Gorbachev in February 1990 in the context of German reunification, where the United States and Germany told the Soviet Union in no uncertain terms NATO would not move eastward. The litany of lies is nonstop, but Trump can't even open his mouth to say a truthful word, not once. So there's nothing to do. What's novel right now is that if you negotiate with the United States, they kill you. That's the new thing. They used to just lie. Now they kill you, because if you negotiate, it means you're weak. Anyone that would negotiate is weak. So we can kill you.
Yeah.
And then Trump, by the way, says, they want to negotiate with us. Mr. Ali Larijani, who is responsible now in Iran, explains that is a complete delusion. And that is a delusion that it's partly, of course, just Trump's PR to say whatever he wants to say. But he says that all over the place about who wants to negotiate. And nobody does, because nobody trusts the United States for one moment.
Has Trump, or has the Secretary of Defense, who calls himself the Secretary of War, articulated a clear goal or militarily achievable purpose
Leo, what's
as
up?
the law requires?
Of course not. There is no law here. And this is a war, full scale, as they explain to us by the hour now, that only Congress has the right to declare. This was not in response to an imminent emergency where the president invokes authority as commander in chief. This is a war of choice that under our constitutional system, which admittedly is defunct, but under our supposed constitutional system is the prerogative of Congress and Congress only. Again, our Congress is so corrupted by Israel that I don't think anything good comes out of it. But under our system, what is happening can only come from the Congress.
Why do you think, and this has been reported, I don't know if you accept this, but we've seen it in a number of places, Professor Sachs. The Trump administration reached out to the Italian foreign ministry and asked them to ask the Iranian foreign ministry for a ceasefire, and the Iranian foreign ministry said no and hell no. If true, why would the Trump administration have done that? Do they know already they bit off more than they can chew?
I have no idea. I have not heard this account until this moment because I'm in a lot of meetings these days.
Sure.
But all I can say, I have no idea whether such a report is true, but we can say the following. Iran is shooting missiles that cost maybe $100,000 or $200,000, and they are being intercepted by anti-missile systems when they are intercepted that cost $2 million or more. The U.S. stockpile of such systems is depleted in any event because of the Ukraine war and past wars, Israel's defense, including last summer. The U.S. cannot sustain what it's doing for more than some period of weeks. I am not close to being the military expert that you have on the show, so we'll listen to them. But the fact of the matter is that this is not something that the United States can sustain. And they surely know that. They think that Iran will capitulate. They thought that killing the religious leader, which is so grotesque, it's just hard to know even where to start on this. But they thought that that would perhaps change everything. These are madmen, people of extraordinary ignorance and vulgarity, who think that murder is their business and think that murdering the religious leader of a faith is somehow going to bring people crawling to the U.S. for relief. This is profoundly evil, but also, in my view, a profound miscalculation.
Isn't perpetual war Netanyahu's only means to stay in office and out of jail?
It could be, but I think his delusions are bigger than that. He believes that Israel rules in the same way that our ambassador to Israel said last week. Netanyahu believes, so does Ambassador Huckabee. For all I know, so does Donald Trump. For all I know, so does the CIA. Who knows in our country anymore? But Netanyahu believes that Israel should rule the Middle East. And many of his his gangster acolytes believe that that's God's promise, and that's what Huckabee believes as well. And so you've got a lot of things going on here. It's not just a calculation about staying out of jail. It's a calculation that goes back 30 or 40 years to the belief that Israel, with America's trillions of dollars and nonstop war, will rule the Middle East.
Let me try and expand this by playing a clip from President Macron of France, terrifying in its tone and import. Chris, number 21.
I have ordered that we increase the number of nuclear warheads on our arsenal in order to put pay to any speculation. We will no longer communicate on the figures regarding our nuclear arsenal, contrary to past practice. In order to be free, therefore, we must be feared. And in order to be feared, we have to be powerful. This increase in our arsenal reflects that approach. But in order to be powerful, and this is the second part of my intervention, we have to be united. And I'm going to speak about Europe.
Has Trump just started?
Europe has increased its defense spending by billions of dollars. There was the president of France talking about increasing France's stockpile of nuclear warheads, and that they will no longer disclose to other countries the amount of nuclear warheads that they have. I think it said there the best estimates is that they currently have 290 nuclear warheads. All of these countries now are scrambling to increase military spending to create more nukes. And the US and Israel just started a war in the Middle East with one of the most powerful countries.
World War III?
There's a good chance of that. Macron was not responding specifically to this war, but he was expressing a mindset which is insane. And the mindset is the only way to be safe in this world is to instill fear in others. And the way
that's actually what he said. That's the president of one of the most powerful countries in the world saying that the only way our country can be safe is to instill fear in others, and so we need nuclear proliferation. They're all talking like Hitler. They're all talking like Hitler because the United States sets the tone for political rhetoric, for acceptable political rhetoric. Trump talks like Hitler. Everyone else has the latitude to talk like Hitler.
To instill fear in others is to build up one's armaments to a maximum extent. You teach even 4-year-olds that this is not the way to be safe, that this is not the way to play with others. Now, Macron has an approval rating of about 10%. I regard that as a rounding error to zero, because in any survey, some people will even mistakenly answer something. He has no support. The European leaders in general have no support. Trump's support is plummeting and will continue to plummet. We're in the hands of gangsters. We're not in the hands of a constitutional system. We're in the hands of a broken, corrupted, gangster-led system. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude or hyperbolic, but how can we have wars like this declared by Trump and Hegseth, and this is how we behave in the context of what was supposedly negotiations, which the mediator said was making great progress and would meet again the following Monday? This is not even remotely in the category of normal. This is just gangsterism. The people don't buy it because we're becoming more and more endangered. None of this is bringing us any security at all. None of this is bringing us any security at all.
Here is the Iranian foreign minister on the negotiations and having been duped. Chris, cut number 9.
We negotiated with the United States twice in the past 12 months, and in both cases, they attacked us in the middle of negotiation. And that has become a very bitter experience for us.
Yeah, Israel did this with Hamas. They were negotiating the ceasefire, and in the middle of the negotiations, Israel bombed Palestine like several times and said, Hamas doesn't want to negotiate. Hamas doesn't want to negotiate. Hamas goes to the negotiation table again. Israel bombs them again. Okay, third time. Hamas goes back to the negotiation table. Israel doesn't bomb them for like a week. They reach a ceasefire. Israel breaks the ceasefire, bombs them 3 times. Who would trust someone who engages like this? I mean, come on, guys. This is ridiculous.
In last June, we were negotiating. We had 5 rounds of negotiations, and we had already fixed the 6th round for 15 June when the Israeli attacked us, and then the US joined the attack. And this time, we had 3 rounds. Last Thursday, we had a very good discussion, very good talks in Geneva. Both Iranian and the US delegation were happy at the end of 7 hours of negotiations. Some other differences were left for the next meeting, and we decided to go for Vienna, to send our technical teams to Vienna on Monday, which means tomorrow, to go to the IAEA, and with the help of the International Atomic Energy Organization, try to find technical solutions for the political problems. When they understood that diplomacy is going on well, they decided to spoil it, and they created a build-up in the media, against the Islamic Republic of Iran. They convinced.
The U.S. and Israel never has any desire to negotiate, but they need to feign as though they do. They need to pretend as though they do. We need to say, oh, yeah, of course we're on the side of peace. Of course we're on the side of diplomacy. Look, we're engaging in negotiations. But that's a farce. That's a farce. That's to create plausible deniability. But it's not even one that they have any sort of dedication to, right? They don't care how long the game goes on, because in 2 days of negotiating, they bomb left and right.
President Trump to attack us unprovoked and unwarranted.
Of course, it was all a charade, and all predictably so. Iran has wanted to negotiate for 15 years. It's tried repeatedly. It signed an agreement with the United States in 2015, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. That was an agreement reached with the United States, Britain, France, China, Russia, and Germany. And then it was ratified unanimously by the UN Security Council. And Iran abided by the agreement. It opened up to inspections. It kept the activities strictly within the bounds of the agreement. And then Trump ripped up the agreement. Trump not only ripped up the agreement, but then Israel and the United States proceeded to assassinate Iranian leaders and scientists, to attack Iranian facilities, and to show there will be no negotiations. When these negotiations started a year ago, it was quite clear this was in bad faith, but then it was proved with the bombing. The Iranians are nice people. They actually wanted they wanted to believe, well, that was then, we've really got to try. But the war was set when Netanyahu, who's not a nice person, came to see Trump a few weeks ago, and this war was set then. So this is all a charade. And it is a charade in the interest of Netanyahu's ardent desire. Now I know it's 40 years. I stand corrected. I used to say 30 years. His ardent desire to take over the Middle East. It's insanity. It's putting us all in extreme danger. Why is Trump doing this? Well, I think there are maybe three things that can be said. One is the CIA runs our country. The security apparatus runs the country. Second, Trump is...
So these are the U.S. planners that I talk about. When we talk about how there's a through line between the administrations, and it's not the case that every time a new president comes in, we take a different course of action. No, the deep state exists. It is these these national bureaucracies, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, all of these federal institutions. They in themselves are these small empires, and they plan the U.S. Geopolitical strategy. And these people don't get turned over every 4 years. Yeah, sure. A president might comes in and put a different head into place, but this person might give small directives here and there, but things go on business as usual. These people are the planners of the U.S. They plan the U.S. strategy for decades in advance, and that's why Biden was also antagonistic toward Maduro in Venezuela, and Trump came in and took him out. If Biden wasn't longer, he was going to take him out.
A weak, unstable,
and not because Maduro's a dictator and all this nonsense. We don't care. We don't care. We murder people wantonly. We murder people like what seems like for fun. You think we care that this person in this country is bad to their people? Come on.
Stable individual, and Bibi seems to own him. Third, there may be more, whether in the Epstein files or elsewhere, that account for this kind of behavior. But what we can say without question, Judge, is that this is contrary to the American interest. This is America last. This is endangering everybody. This will absolutely do great economic damage to the people that voted for Mr. Trump. And the ramifications of an expanding war are very great. I can also add another point that I think is important.
A mother stretches one plate across all 5 of her children. A father skips meals so his children can eat. Children cry themselves to sleep.
Israeli snipers shoot at those people when they go get rations to stay alive.
Not from fear, but from hunger. Humanity is on the ground. Gaza, Yemen, Pakistan, Africa, and more, delivering hot, fresh meals with dignity. $10 feeds one person, $40 feeds a family, and $400 feeds 100 people. Your zakah, your sadaqah, 100% of it goes to those in need, and it's tax deductible in the United States and Canada. Feed someone for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be the answer to a mother's dua. Donate now. Give with humanity.
These groups can't even get into the region because Israel won't let them, and they will also kill those humanitarian aid workers.
Countries that house U.S. military facilities like Bahrain or Qatar or Saudi Arabia or France and Britain or Denmark are basically vassals of the United States. The CIA operates out of those military bases.
I say it's misinformation. Is it? This guy is a professor at Columbia University. He's saying the same things I'm saying, but I get flagged for misinformation. He's also not allowed on these mainstream platforms. But I mean, if you're looking for credibility, chat, because a lot of people come over here and they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. All right, bro, because you do, right? You like research this stuff, you read about it, you studied it. Okay. He says it's not misinformation. He's not going to get flagged because this platform he's on has gained some following on these platforms and has some protection as a result of that.
Are subordinate to the U.S. Imperial designs. And that's why Europe cannot utter one single word of honesty about what's happening right now. We shouldn't hold our breath for it. It won't happen.
No, it won't happen. All of Europe is subordinate to the U.S. Of course. Europe has been subordinate to the U.S. since World War II. We took over Europe when we won World War II. Actually, let me take it back. Europe has been subordinate to the U.S. since the end of World War I, when we forced them to pay their war debts. Talks about it in this book, Super Imperialism, the Economic Strategy of American Empire. But I'm spreading misinformation. God damn it, man.
They're all attacking Iran. They're attacking Iran.
Yeah, Germany, France, I believe Canada, Australia. They've all said, oh yeah, UK. They're like, we're going to take defensive action against Iran. What? What are you talking about? What's Iran doing? The U.S. and Israel are the aggressors, but I mean, come on, guys. Does anyone believe in any of this? I mean, there are a ton of people who are. I don't know how much those people can be helped.
For escalating, not the United States and Israel for attacking Iran. The one exception to this is the Spanish government, and all kudos to the president, Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez for speaking honestly. All the rest are just vassals, useless. They don't tell the truth at all. I was at the UN Security Council meeting, emergency session on Saturday. There is the Danish ambassador attacking Iran under these circumstances of after Iran was attacked and bombed. And this ambassador thinks that somebody's going to come to Denmark's rescue when the United States invades Greenland. No principles at all, because they're all occupied countries. And it's really very dangerous for this reason, because we don't get honest discussion.
When you discuss things honestly, you get flagged for misinformation. Unless you've built up enough of a following that they'll just keep you in the corner. Like Sachs, they keep him in the corner. You're not going to see him on CNN. You're not going to see him on MSNBC. You're not going to see him on Fox News. You're not going to see him on CBS, on ABC. No, You're not going to see him on these mainstream platforms that the majority of the population consume their propaganda from. I won't call it news. I refuse to call it news. It's propaganda. All right, we're going to call it here for this stream. And take care of yourselves, chat. Take care of yourselves. I wonder how many views it's going to say. Like, I'd be surprised if it's more than 100. They're not even showing my viewer count anymore. They're not even showing my viewer count anymore. I can't even see how many people saw the stream anymore. Insane. Absolute insanity. You gotta document these things, Chad. That's one thing I've learned is you gotta document because no one will believe you. They'll think you're a crazy person. You gotta document.